Hello and welcome to Tai'Shar Wheel of Time podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Will.
We are here to wrap up season 1.
Yeah, we are.
Wheel of Time TV show. Yeah, as if we had anything to do with it. Yeah, we're the peanut gallery. We're gonna have our say. So Will, what'd you think of the end of?
I like a lot of this. I have mixed feelings.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I don't have a strong enough impression one way or another to say like it was bad. It definitely wasn't great.
I'll say it for you.
It had some bad stuff.
It really did, yeah.
And
there was a lot of zigging when I would have zagged, I think.
And there's some questionable like quality of CG too. It
makes you wonder how much COVID had to do with this. And Matt and
right.
or Barney.
It felt very rushed and just odd.
We needed like another 2 episodes.
Apparently that was what Rafe wanted to have, but they gave him 8. So I will say there are things that I like, even a few things that I really like.
Yeah, sure.
And one of them I like is the aesthetic of this cold open. I don't like everything about this cold open, but I do like the aesthetic of what we get to see the Age of Legends.
Yeah, that's true. They look out the window, and I had to look up Latra. I wasn't okay. I think I needed to read. I need to read New Spring again, or I don't know, something. I just completely had not remembered this character. But
well, tell me who you discovered, because I never looked her up.
Apparently, she is supposedly Luz Theron's kind of equal, or kind of on his level in the Age of Legends.
It was a surprise to go ahead and see Luz Theron.
And not see the scenes we would have expected to see, like in the prologue of Eye of the World, or I don't know, the breaking itself. Just to have him kind of sitting there having a chat in a nursery. Right. Not really quite what we envisioned as a introduction to him.
Exactly. It's fun for book fans. I think it's not everything we would want, but
right.
It gives us a little bit of that feeling of Age of Legends being having a touch more of a sci-fi element.
Their costumes are very much. I like almost kind of get like a Star Trek vibe.
Right. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Star Trek, or I don't know if you've caught any of the Apple TV Plus Foundation.
Oh, that's a better comparison. I did not finish it.
I actually haven't finished it either, but it's not great to me, but it's the aesthetic of it. The art direction of it is just darn near perfect. So you have this moment where
it's interesting that they're speaking the old tongue.
Yes.
Like, I guess that's fine. I mean, like, if they hadn't been, it wouldn't have bothered me. Like,
right.
Would have been okay with them. It's just like any other thing. You just hand wave. Oh yeah, they're speaking whatever language. But no, we went there.
You have this moment where he bends down and talks to the baby. Book readers are like, "Oh dang!"
Right.
Oh dang! Yeah,
that's a little bit of foreshadowing. Perhaps.
Yep. Then we have this look out, and some of you may have already seen. I don't know if you saw the image, Sam, but opening vista with the skyscrapers.
Oh, I was wondering, did somebody superimpose that?
Yes,
it's the same.
Yeah, okay. It matches up.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, sure.
It's pretty cool. I could pause on this image and just stare at it for a long time.
Right. Like, oh, it's the Age of Legends. What's going on?
Yeah.
Look at all this stuff flying around.
It's so cool.
It's like Krypton or something.
Exactly. We're back with Moraine and Rand and the Blight.
Got a very Dagobah feel here.
I don't dislike this interpretation of the Blight. It's definitely different than
definitely different from the book.
But it's certainly it's creepy, and it's a good way of showing you how it's like encroaching this thick growth.
I wonder why they didn't want to do the Blight as it's described in the book. I mean, it admittedly is strange. I mean, and not really fitting with, almost even the rest of the books. Like, it's a very, very trippy kind of description. And maybe it would have been too hard to try to duplicate that.
That's what I figure. You don't have to have a very large set to create this kind of tight, packed
swampy.
in. Yeah. after we see a dude who's fallen prey to the blight to give us some anxiety, then we're back with Nynaeve and Perrin, and I don't care.
No, more just like talky. Yeah. Let's go after them. Let's not go after them. Let's talk about it.
We're resolving this made up tension that we didn't really need. And then we're back with Rand.
And see the 7 towers of Malkir.
Yeah, this is a cool image. I mean, the 7 towers are pretty different from the way I pictured them, but that doesn't...
Right. They're just kind of like piles of, whatever, stones or poop or something.
I don't know. Yeah, they look a little more organic than I had pictured and closer together. We get a little more background on Malkir here as Moiraine kind of explains a little bit of...
Right. What happened?
Yeah. And then they take a rest. Here's one of the things in this is Moiraine tells him not to touch anything. That maybe in a little...
Then they sit down.
Right. And lean against stuff. Right. Fall asleep.
So what exactly does that mean, Moiraine? If you don't, I don't know how you don't touch things when you're leaning up against a tree. Yeah. Anyway, you pass out. Just don't intentionally touch anything.
Right. Don't manhandle the tree or whatever.
Right. Don't offend it. Then back to Lan looking off the balcony
as Nynaeve looks on.
Nynaeve says, "I know how to track Moiraine." I'm never really quite clear on what she tells him or how that works. Maybe I missed it.
He just straight up says, "I can't follow her with the bond. I don't know where she is, and and she doesn't want to be tracked." But then she's like,
"I didn't follow you, I followed Moiraine," and sort of vaguely says how
she has a tell.
She has a tell. But what is it though?
What is the tell?
Does she have BO? Is it?
Yeah. And you think that would be an important detail to include.
Right, yeah, but we just kind of don't get it.
Yeah.
She tells him off camera or something.
Right. I don't know.
That's fine, I guess.
I don't know. That it makes it seem weak. Like they don't actually...
Right, or they didn't take the time to
actually come up with it.
Right.
Then we have this moment that is from the books, but a little bit later. And where Lan has this line that he says, "I will hate the man you choose, yada, yada, yada."
Mm-hmm.
And I love that line, but I feel like it's pretty early.
They just had a one-night stand, for crying out loud. They haven't earned all these feelings yet.
Yeah.
He caught feelings quick.
Yeah, that it doesn't feel... It also kind of, like you're saying, because it happens quick with him, makes him seem like he's the kind of guy to...
Right, he's supposed to be like a stone.
Right.
And the Rand dream sequence thingy.
Right, he's already got...
I gotta say, probably the thing I do like about this episode is Ishamael.
Yeah, in this scene.
We can say he's a Shamael, right? Yeah, he's in the...
I'm going to say he's a Shamael. Here's the thing.
It's in the X-ray. Is a Shamael, quote, the man. Right. That's literally what the thing says.
But it's frustrating because there's a lot that goes unanswered here. So you have a fake out death. That's like, okay, whatever. She's not dead. Mm-hmm. Then Rand shoots an arrow into this guy's eye and he presses it in and suddenly he has a normal face. There is an alternate version of this character who has the burning eyes and everything, who has a specific name in the books and kind of has almost his own 3-book arc. So to jump right to this version of Ishamael, while I don't dislike it because it's necessary for story purposes. It'll be a lot less confusing.
The character in the book has this sort of insane delusions of grandeur, kind of he makes everyone think he's the Dark One and really kind of believes it himself at this point. He wouldn't believe it himself, and they just kind of skip that.
Well, they kind of act like they're doing that a little bit, where they talk to him and refer to him as the Dark One.
He never quite says that himself. He never says one way or another.
Right. He doesn't seem to discourage it, but he doesn't exactly encourage it either.
And he's clearly not he's not insane.
Right. Yeah. The only question that I have is why have the glowing eyes version at all? Why not just
yeah, right. Why not be just the dude and maybe just to scare him?
Yeah,
I guess.
Maybe. Just seemed like a odd thing to include that. Yeah. And then suddenly, yoink, he's a normal looking dude.
Now he's a normal dude and he's just having a chat.
But yeah, this scene is pretty solid, I feel like, as far as
the scenes with him in it. I mean, my only problem is that they don't actually fight much, like that's my main beef with it. But yeah, he's great. I don't have a problem with him at all.
Then comes this moment where Rand kills himself to wake himself.
Commits seppuku. He sheaths the sword.
Yeah. Okay. World of Dreams.
That shouldn't be. That would actually kill him.
Right. Yeah. So
doesn't really make sense.
I assume they're just saying, well, this isn't the World of Dreams. This is just Rand's dream.
His dream. Yeah.
I don't know. It seemed odd.
That boundary is always a little bit fuzzy to me in the books too. Right. So I kind of am okay with them not, but that wouldn't. Yeah, that moment would not have happened in the book. Yeah,
I would much rather them have firmed up that boundary rather than. But anyway, I feel like it's just has the potential of causing confusion later. Mm-hmm. A small detail that I noticed on my first watch is that Ishamael and Lews Therin both have this 2-finger ring on.
Interesting.
And with no explanation, it makes me wonder if it was some kind of either indicator of rank,
Aes Sedai'ness,
right? Or back
just in fashion in the Age of Legends,
right?
Like Pogs,
exactly like Pogs. So. Anyway, in this next scene after the fake out death, and Rand wakes up and he's fine and everything.
He's like, "Oh, good, Moraine, you didn't get stabbed through the throat.
Right,
that's good."
They kind of have.
And Moraine pulls out the Choden Call key.
Yeah,
that's. I mean, okay. For one, old question is how did you get it? But it's fair. It's fair that in the books he suddenly has this spike in power, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, they use the pool of Sidene or whatever. Right. So. Finding a different MacGuffin makes sense, although it's jumping straight to the Choden Call, dang.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
It does feel, I don't know, using a sledgehammer to...
Right. Just give him an Angreal, like the fat little man Angreal he's supposed to have.
Which I thought at first when she pulled it out, that's what it, she was going to say.
Until she described it.
Right,
yeah.
Instead it's it'll make you 100 times or whatever she says.
She says, saw Angreal.
Yeah, and so it was
okay, I guess.
I mean, also, I'll be curious to see how they treat it throughout, but it's a pretty major piece, and where it when
it's supposed to be. I always pictured it as like a knee high statue that he couldn't just put in his pocket. Because otherwise, why wouldn't he just use it all the time, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my main thing was this. Okay, now you've entered. Essentially, this is like a nuclear weapon.
Yeah. And this is the nuclear weapon. This and there's one other.
Right. Again, it's another one of these things. By introducing this now, there's going to be questions about
repercussions, like why is it not used every time he has a problem?
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna have to address that.
Right, because down the road in the books, there are times where it's almost overused. But
yeah, right. But if he had it at this point, every time there's a boss fight, why wouldn't you just blow away whatever Forsaken it is with the Choden Call?
Right. It seems like an odd choice to me, but
Rand is generally kind of insufferable this whole episode.
Right.
And to be fair, I guess to some degree he has been the whole show. But
I don't know, man. He is a little bit that way. I mean, he's
true.
He's a young man who is finding out he's the most powerful channeler alive. And so he would have a certain amount of you can't tell me what to do to him, no matter how good of a guy he is.
But this brooding edgelordness doesn't work for me very well.
Well, it's frustrating because they did a good job of making Matt and and even Perrin to a degree likable, but
did not do that with Rand.
Yeah, I think in an effort to misdirect from Rand,
that he was the Dragon Reborn. They
purposefully didn't spend as much time with him while he does these brooding things. To me, it's not the broodiness that's the problem. It's the problem that we haven't earned this broodiness yet because we don't
really know him.
We have, and we don't like him enough to put up with it. We end up back at a scene with
Nynaeve and Egwene are listening for the wind and hearing Trollocs.
Yeah, and then stuff happens. Then there's more of Rand and Moraine
wandering through the Blight, just kind of.
Yep. Then.
Yeah, nothing important happens there, really.
Right.
It's just like, okay, we're talking, we're walking and walking.
It is amazing how little happens in the first half of this episode, but. Then Min does a reading for Nynaeve and Egwene and sees them, what it looks like from what we've seen, approaching the burnout stage of channeling.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then alarm goes off and the soldiers all leave, and so it looks like something is
coming,
about to happen.
Then Moraine and Rand get to the Eye of the World, I guess.
Yeah, which again is very different from the books, but whatever. In the books, this is called Shale Ghul.
Right, it's not mentioned here.
Yeah, presumably they will just, I don't know, it does seem like an odd choice a bit to completely replace the name of one thing. Eye of the World is a little easier to understand, I guess, than Shale Ghul.
Yeah, you would need some exposition for Shale Ghul. And maybe and I guess it is, it is a different place. The Eye of the World is not Shale Ghul, is it?
Not in the books, but here.
Right. That's what I'm saying in the books. So.
Yeah, no, it is. But here it appears.
Are we sure that this is okay? Maybe it is. I don't know. Yeah,
I guess she says it's the location of the Dark One's prison. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
So then we have a scene with, is it Agilmar here?
Agilmar, Uno, that other guy, talking about how we've got to hold, but the gap won't hold. We're gonna go try anyway, and go get the thing.
Yeah, this seems a little unlike the Shannarans because they regularly have scrimmages with Trollocs.
And that's what they say here is that they do. They just never. It's never this many.
There's a lot of things that I'm like, but why though?
Yeah. Why'd you make that change?
I just don't quite understand it. Because they are going to fight Band of Trollocs in the book. It's just not
right there at Faldera,
and it's not into an extinction level amount of Trollocs. It's just another scrimmage.
We're just raising the stakes
and
for their own sake. I
don't know. I guess part of the reason why I'm not responding well to that is that it doesn't come on the execution isn't there later in the.
Right. Well, and I guess they wanted to make it more dangerous since our heroes are going to be there, whereas in the books they were not.
Yeah.
They were all at the Eye of the World.
So then we have Lan trekking through the Blight. He sees the Seven Towers and moves on. Yeah, it's kind of amazing how little happens in the way of action.
Yeah.
For the first portion of this.
The Eye of the World is just looks like a crater with some stairs leading down.
Yep.
It's fine, I guess.
Yep. Sure. Why not?
Back to Lan, who's still tracking them. And then Agilmar and Lady Amalisa are talking about armor and parents and stuff.
I don't know.
And then how the ladies are going to hold the city.
This is another one where another couple of episodes may have slowed the pace down a little bit because I know we're complaining about this being talky, but
because we're in the climax and we don't hardly get a climactic climax.
Well, it's I feel like all this talk at the beginning is a result of not having enough time to allow these characters to develop. Like we just met them, Agilmar and Amalisa, and now we're trying to ram in 3 episodes.
To care about them before they go into battle.
Exactly. Versus it would have felt much more natural if there was even one more episode here where we had a scene of them. I mean, like if you're going to invent scenes, have a scene of them hanging out in Shinar and get to know the Shinaran culture and Lan training Rand, or any number of things that could have been remixed up to give us more character development, and maybe have like a smaller Trolloc scrimmage that was a little more like normal sized.
Right, like to establish that they're pretty BA and can handle Trollocs, and because Trollocs aren't the problem.
Because it does seem like, you know, these guys come off as a little weak. I mean, because it's just like they just, you know, suddenly there's a battle and it's like, oh, we've just never fought this many before, and that's all they say. You know what I'm saying? Like, like yes, it is. But if they had established like a baseline of, you know, like here are a ton of Trollocs and here's how we beat them, and we do this all the time, but then it's like, then you up that ante 100 times, then yes, it would feel like
handle it. Yeah,
you know, okay, these guys are good warriors, but they're getting overwhelmed.
Yep.
Anyway, so we're back in the Eye of the World.
Rand asks, "What was this place?" And Moiraine says, "No idea. Just this is where the Dark One was imprisoned."
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Which is confusing.
Yeah, interesting to see how they handle that. You know, we haven't had like the word bore mentioned here.
The Dark One, similar to how Sauron is a tower with that talks to people from his eye. The Dark One is also a thing,
right?
That we should meet at some point. So if that's, I guess it's like you can just say this is where he was in prison, but it's not actually where he is. I mean, maybe that's the kind of way they're going.
Maybe Rand then starts to have these visions. One of them is Lews Therin.
Rand says, "What do you remember?" And he says a bunch of vague things that don't really answer the question.
And so this may be an example of the kind of thing that we're going to get as we've talked about.
Sooner or later, Lews Therin will begin speaking to Rand, perhaps, as we've seen with... Yeah, that makes sense. It's like how it starts, maybe.
Then Rand bends down to touch the ancient Aes Sedai yin and yang symbol, and...
One thing I thought was like after the beginning with Lews Therin speaking the Old Tongue, I think it'd be funny if, you know, Lews Therin starts speaking to Rand in the Old Tongue and Rand's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I won't speak that. That would be kind of great. Like for a while, it's like, shut up, I don't understand.
That reminds me of What We Do in the Shadows. And one of the episodes, I can't remember if it was the second or third season, Nandor brings back an old version of himself that only speaks his native language, and he's forgotten his native language. And so it would be actually kind of similar to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, so we have this scene, and this scene is very similar to scenes we get in the book. We get a lot of these kinds of scenes throughout the book, actually.
Of these, like, you know, an alternate reality and like the way things could be. This scene just reminds me of Picard in Star Trek Next Generation, or is it Generations? I don't know, where Picard goes and meets Kirk, and Kirk is out like chopping wood, and he's like going to he's going to go carry breakfast in, and he's like, this is all nice, but it's not real.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We flash back to the real world, and Ishamael and Moiraine have a little standoff, and Ishamael does something to Moiraine. It's
which is confusing.
Very confusing. It's not clear.
It's like he's shielded her and tied off the weave.
Yeah, that's.
But is that a thing that can happen? It can last for.
It definitely happens because it happens to and but there's a major character that has that happen where it's tied off, but they're not cut off from the one power, and so. You know, it's different from being stilled or gentled, but it's not clear that that's what happened.
Yeah, right. Somebody else could undo it, unless it was the anyway.
Yeah, right. It's one of these, you know, one man's unanswered question is another man's plot holes.
Yep.
And your willingness to accept an unanswered question depends on A, the number of unanswered questions, and B, how much you're enjoying the rest.
Credit you're going to give the writers to be able to like stick the landing.
Right. And so to me, there have been a lot of unanswered questions in these last few episodes, 6 and 8 especially, that are going to be difficult, I think, create problems later on. Anyway, we're back in Faldara, and we get a scene of Lady Amalisa, mustering troops and giving a speech.
Agilmar rides for the fortress wall to reinforce with his fellas.
Yes.
The ladies are all like reinforcing the city and showing that they're not going to give it up easily.
I like the wall fortress. I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I got no problem with that.
Yeah.
And you see Uno and that other guy with pickaxes going to the throne. Like,
right.
What are you guys doing?
When that started, I actually thought, I hope they're not doing what they're probably doing.
And they were.
Yeah, that's exactly what was going on.
Yeah, we'll get there and talk about it, I guess.
Okay.
Or we can talk about it now. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, well, okay, so we're at the battle, and you got Agilmar with a crossbow, giving orders. You've got a fade.
Perrin is kind of storming around, kind of mopey.
Yeah. This battle sequence, when we get to it,
it's not super effective.
Really. It's not great. It's not.
It should have been better.
That's really it.
It's hard to put my finger exactly on why.
Well, for one thing, the CG is some of the worst in the show so far, I think. As far as
dark,
it's clear that they knew it wasn't great, so they brought the light down on it.
Yeah.
Then you have this weird thing of the women, which is really just Amalisa, who we set up in the previous episode, can channel
Nynaeve and Egwene, and then some other ladies.
Right. This whole thing is very strange to me.
It's so problematic.
They stand there. They just
right. Like, why? What are you guys doing? Like, go help.
And
why are you like waiting so far away? Like, just standing out in the open.
Yeah, they're just standing in between Faldara and the Gap.
Right. It's like they're going to protect Faldara, but like, why? Go help your brother.
It's a very odd choice. And then we
cut back to Loyal and Perrin, and Perrin's ranting about the Way of the Leaf, and it's just, I don't know. Perrin's not being very likable right now.
Yeah. Well, here's
I don't really like mopey Perrin.
Yeah. Part of the problem in this episode, we don't get to see anybody being awesome.
Yeah.
Like, everybody is kind of whiny, kind of sometimes straight up just kind of stupid. And so you don't, or they kind of get defeated easily is what it kind of seems like. Like, nobody gets a decent fight in.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Like, you don't feel like the Shinorans are really shown to be putting up that great of a fight. I mean, yes, of course, it's, as we've said, it's way more Trollocs than they're used to. But we really could have used, like
I want to see Uno out there just being just
going to town.
Awesome. Yeah. Just one scene of that or something would have been great. Instead, he's in there in the throne room with a pickaxe.
Right. It feels all very strange.
Especially because Agilmar dies.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck? That's not supposed to happen.
And Amalisa, yeah. Yeah, all that seems very strange to me, anyway.
It's like they just felt like, we need to kill some characters.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, that, from the way we're reacting, that's not in the books. So we're back into the dream sequence.
Rand's like testing Egwene to see if it's really her, and she like answers correctly, and it's like, well, I don't know, man, if either Ishamael's in your head and just knows what you want her to say, or this is a trippy dream sequence where it's an alternate version of Egwene. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
And
either way, you shouldn't be trusting that stuff, man.
Right. One of the things about sequences like this in any TV show or movie is that, to me, it makes you impatient because it feels like it's stalling.
Like, what's going to happen.
Right.
He's going to like make the right choice.
And so you have to make up for it with at least like interesting kind of dialogue, which for this section, at first, to me, it's not that interesting. Now, this
is confusing. I mean, because what Ishamael is saying is you can will her into being, and like, what? I guess because Rand has the Choden call, like, maybe, but that doesn't really make sense.
Well, and
or he's just feeding him a line.
Right. This also feels like it's jumping ahead a little bit to kind of the end of the series. And
yeah, sure.
Okay, the phrase "you can remake the world in your image." I mean, that's
join me and together we will rule the universe.
Right.
We'll just kill the emperor and rule as father and son.
Now, I kind of get why they did it, because they need to establish some of the bigger stakes right up front.
They've talked about, Moraine has talked repeatedly about the dragon could either seal the Dark One in the prison or turn to the shadow, and so just following up on that.
Right. Back in the real world, as the conversation was with Moraine and Ishamael continues.
And Moraine pulls a knife.
Right.
Like, well, I may not have the power, but I can slit this dude's throat.
Yep. Really, of course, and I'm always reminded, it's like, Aes Sedai can't lie. She really means that she will kill him.
She is ready to slit his throat.
I heard someone say online that they felt like this was kind of a darker version of Moraine.
I don't think so.
No,
I think that was always the case.
Yeah.
She just never was that blunt about it in the book.
She didn't actually
never had a reason to be that blunt about it.
Right. She didn't get to that point.
Certainly believed that and meant that.
Right.
Intended that.
Yeah. I mean, she has the line, because I'll kill you rather than let the Dark One have you.
Right.
So here we're back to the battle. It's progressed to the point that now the Trollocs are able to get through the arrow slits. They're busting them open so they can climb through them. And Agomar just goes out like a punk.
Right, yeah.
I mean, really, that... I feel like that makes the Shienarans look lame. They're supposed to be.
Yeah, isn't Agomar a great captain?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, he's one of the 5 great captains of the Westlands. Okay, well that's just not cool then.
Yeah, right. It's a bit of a issue for book readers to have him just go out by getting stabbed by a Trolloc.
I don't have any. Can't remember that has a major role in the rest of the series. I'm sure he's in it at various times, but it's the fact that he's supposed to be one of these incredible strategic minds.
Yeah. And if they try to show up later and act like he just got skewered to the wall. He definitely
got killed.
Like through the sternum.
Yeah,
with a spear.
No Aes Sedai standing, waiting in the wings to heal him. Dude's about to bleed out.
So yeah, we're back to Ishamael kind of trying to talk Rand into being evil,
cutting Egwene's throat with the power, and then undoing it.
And
Rand being confused.
Right, Moraine in the real world starting to draw blood from his neck, and then we're back in Faldara. One of the more
Padan Fain.
Yeah, one of the more interesting points in this episode, actually, I think. Padan Fain walks in.
Got his eyeless with him. Got a couple fades.
This is a pretty different Padan Fain from where he is in the book at this point.
Mm-hmm.
For one thing, in the book, he was in
their prison.
Right, he's imprisoned.
It's kind of already pretty crazy.
They captured him. For another thing, he is acting a lot more insane, like in the book.
Right. He was writing on the wall in blood, saying some very disturbing things.
Right. And
real obsessed with Rand.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to care about Rand at this point in the show. Or if he does, he hasn't certainly said so.
Now, an interesting thing that I think Daniel Green suggested was that maybe a lot of Perrin's stuff was supposed to be Matt originally, because early in the season, they seemed to be, they set up Matt as the only one who talked to Padan Fain.
Yep, that's true.
And also,
okay, so maybe this should have been Matt standing. Okay, all right. Throughout the part with Loyal, and that would make him having Padan Fain having the dagger more impactful.
Right.
Okay, I can buy that. Yeah.
So then we're back outside. We have the ladies get linked. That's
Trollocs
pretty much that.
Through.
Yeah, Trollocs are trollocking. I never made that association.
Trollocs gonna Trolloc.
Yeah. They're trollocking across the plain. We see that Perrin and Uno have just gotten to whatever thing they're.
I think they said it was the Horn of Valir.
Okay, they actually said it.
He said it's the Horn of Bloody Valir, lad.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not like the Horn of Valir gets a much better
introduction in the book. Yeah, it's just like in the Eye of the World.
Yeah, it's just there.
With the dragon banner, which is strange. So I guess that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
why not?
whatever.
It just seemed like an odd.
Why was it under?
Why was it there? Yeah. Why are they?
Why didn't you blow it? I mean, I think they addressed that it wasn't not to be used here, but why not?
Right. I actually thought
in the book they probably would. Yeah, I thought they were going to too. I was like, oh no, is Perrin gonna blow it?
Right.
Which is not right, but that would play into your theory there.
And I almost wonder if at one time they had thought about that in the writing. And
right.
Things
and
just
they're like, oh, can't do that.
Right. Perrin sees Fane. He sees an axe sitting there. And we're at the point where we're cutting between a lot of different things.
Yep.
So
back to Rand talking to Shamael.
Let's talk about the way the channeling women kind of ends up.
You can't be burnt out when you're linked. That is clearly defined in the books. And it is really bothering me that they completely disregarded that rule.
And also, it kind of looks like Nynaeve straight up dies. Doesn't just get burnt out, that she dies.
And if you get both die and get burnt out, you're not coming back.
You're not.
That's also clearly established that resurrection is not a thing.
Right.
And if you were burnt out, you can't channel anymore. That's done. You're done.
And so for that to end on this note of, okay, she is just better now because Egwene
she just passed out. Egwene really wanted her to be better.
Yeah, it's the power of love. That's the way it feels.
It does. Yeah, it does not make sense in any way.
I mean, the one upside to this is that we get a kind of cool scene when Amelisa first starts calling down the lightning and blowing away the Trollocs. It's a little reminiscent of a scene later on in the books described.
That's a good point.
Just the way that it kind of butchers them. But that aside, to me, that whole thing was very frustrating because it felt like I felt like they were just using it more as a device to set up A, what it really means to be burnt out, and B, this idea that's talked about in the books, but we don't really see much of, that a person can kind of get almost addicted to the power in a moment and not.
Oh, Amelisa doesn't want to stop, can't stop.
Right.
Yeah, just drunk on the power of, just can't, because it just makes me really mad that they want to adapt all the books, and yet you just sort of spit in the eye of these rules that are clearly, right. This is complete violation of the rules in the books. And I really don't like that. I think I really don't like that choice in any way. And it's really kind of left a bad taste in my mouth about the show.
Yeah. No, I don't like anything about the way that once the Trollocs are blown away, everything that happens with the channeling ladies from there on, I'm just frustrated about, because I'm killing two people randomly. First of all, it does not seem like enough power to justify that quickly of a burnout, even if it were possible while being linked. But that aside, then you have the whole thing where suddenly Egwene just heals Nynaeve and it's all better. Yeah. So, well, let's talk about the wrap up with
Rand and
Moiraine.
Rand's making some faces that I don't really like.
You have some kind of strange editing choices that are a little confusing.
We're jumping back and forth between the ladies and Rand at this point.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, in the scene with Rand, where it's not quite clear if Rand is present in reality, if he can hear what
both. It's like he's been able to hear the whole time, maybe, and just was playing it up. I don't know.
It seems very odd.
And then he stands up. He's got power flowing through him and the taint, and he's got the Choden Call key, which is also a glowy thingy, which is channeling through that. That's fine. Okay. But I'm kind of confused as to why Shamael is just letting it happen at this point and not defending himself.
It seems like he would, see what was going on and do something to stop it. I don't know if he thought for a second that Rand was not going to do what he was doing. I don't know. Anyway, so much of this is weak. And it's
did he kill him? It's not. It looks like he kills him, but Shamael doesn't seem really concerned about it.
Yeah.
He's just oh, dang it. That my plan has been foiled as I disintegrate.
It begs a lot of questions.
That just should be a much more epic. I mean, the scene in the book is confusing and weird. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but it's a lot more epic than this.
Yeah.
And I can see why. Okay, in the book, he also blows away all the Trollocs, which doesn't really make sense. And so having that be a separate thing, sure, okay, I guess I'm good with that. But I mean, this is like not even a fight. This is just a weird conversation, and then he blows away Shamael.
And then there's a crack on the stone, which I thought we were going to get it. Okay, this is actually what the Dark One wanted. He wanted one way or another. He was
manipulating him to break the seal.
Right. And that was...
That's not really ever...
That's not ever made clear. I would have...
Could be an unanswered question, I guess.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily a plot hole, but it kind of starts to feel that way.
Feels that way. And also, the seals in the Dark One's prison should be about the size of a drink coaster that you can fit in your pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
Not super important, I guess.
But. I don't know. They may not do the individual seals and just...
Maybe not.
We'll see. When we get to the end of this sequence, Rand says that he is not going to go back, that he felt the madness of the Dark One and that he doesn't want to harm anyone, so he's going to run away. I mean, I have a hard time not feeling like they didn't create this moment to end on some tension. One of the shows I really enjoyed as it was on was Smallville.
Yeah.
But one of the things that it took me several seasons to realize, but they would always end with this huge season finale, and then the first one, maybe two episodes of the next season were spent just undoing everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just concerned that they have backed themselves into a corner in some ways with some of this stuff. And so a lot of the first episode back is going to have to be them kind of like, okay, how do we get Rand
Matt back with everybody?
Yeah, how do we get Matt back? How do we get Rand back?
Yeah, it's like she lets him leave, and then Lanso shows up, and Moraine goes, "Oh, it's not over yet." Like, well, why didn't you just stop him if you thought that this was not the sealing of the Dark One? Maybe you just didn't realize it at the moment. But
I don't know.
Like, well, he's not that far away. Go after him.
Well, and even if she thought, oh, well, I can't stop him, I don't have the power. Like, try to talk him out of it.
Yeah, tell him this is not it. Don't just let him leave thinking he's sealed the Dark One's prison, and you're good. Go have your adventure and la-di-da.
Yeah, you have Moraine there holding a piece of Queen DR, which the Queen DR looks cool.
Yeah.
And she explains Rand is gone. She does manage to say it in a way that makes Lan at least seem to think that Rand is dead, which was Rand's request.
Right, yeah.
Very odd to me
without lying, she's kind of...
It's odd to me that she would go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because she would have to realize that Rand has more of a role to play. It's not like her whole, finding and guiding the Dragon Reborn, like it's just over. For her to just seem like she would say, okay, hey, we got to figure out how to get me fixed now that I can't channel for whatever reason,
and go get Rand back.
But I don't know, that there's just so much that I'm not a fan of. Perrin and Thane stuff is even more anticlimactic.
Yeah, he just Perrin just lets him walk away.
Yeah.
After stabbing, including potentially stabbing Loyal. Like, Loyal better not be dead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was just a frustrating.
That was just not cool.
Yeah.
Not cool. Like, even if that was just a misdirection, not cool, guys.
Again, well, I mean, to me, all it does is it just adds to the list of stuff they're going to have to undo right at the start of the second episode. I mean, or the second season, and say like, okay, so how do we get Matt back? How do we get Rand back? How do we make sure Loyal is okay? And how do we handle the fact that Shinar now has no succession? Like, who's next in the line if both Agomar and Annalisa are dead? And yes, these are all unanswered questions. They're not exactly like plot holes, but given the book as we know it, it's going to be challenging to get back on track with something close to what we know as the Great Hunt, which Sam and I have talked about is pretty much our favorite of the first 3 books.
Trilogy, yeah. And the ending of this is promising. Sean Chan show up.
Oh, yeah. When we get to the very end here.
Very ending. Pretty cool little intro to this new villain.
I'm not going to complain about that one at all. I mean, it looks different than I was picturing, but...
that's okay. Yeah.
The fact, the first time I watched it and it said the Far Western Shore, I was like, oh, dang, are they going to show the Sean Chan showing up?
Yep.
And it's like, oh, dang, here they are.
Right.
And they get this huge tidal wave. So you get some understanding of how aggressive and powerful the Sean Chan are. They're just kind of on a different level.
I'm sure that little girl's going to be fine now.
Yeah, she'll probably be. She'll show up in the second episode. I mean, second season 2. Yeah. It'll be another example of someone they have to figure out how to bring back.
Something that, you can't end this show with killing a little girl. Jeez.
Overall, like I said, I didn't hate this episode. It's not my least.
I kind of did. I'll say it. Okay. I'm not.
It's not my least favorite episode, is what I'll say.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I just I needed them to stick the landing.
Right. They definitely didn't stick the landing.
Freaking didn't. Yeah. And it really just made me mad. Yeah. The way they spat in the eye of the rules of magic in the book.
Yeah.
And just generally the way they handled the main characters, the battle with the Dark One. I mean, just battle with Shamael, the battle with the Trollocs, just killing Agilmar.
Yeah.
Kind of stabbing Loyal, man.
Leaves a lot. So here's the thing.
Didn't like it.
While we are going to leave this episode on kind of a down note because we weren't big fans of this particular episode that we just reviewed, next week we're going to talk a bit of a season overview.
Oh, like the whole show. Yeah, that'll be good. We need to do that.
One of the things that we're going to do is talk a little bit about what we think season 2 can do to improve. And we're also going to look at our mailbag. So look forward to having you guys. Sam, do you want to wrap us up?
Until next time, Tai'Shar Manethrin.